The third part of your project is a one-point perspective drawing. So first we want to understand, what is one-point perspective drawing? A one-point perspective drawing is a drawing where, as things get further away from you or have more depth to them, that face that's further away from you is going to appear smaller. And all of the lines and the faces are heading towards one point that we call the diminishing point. Meaning, as things get further and further away, like when you're looking at a railroad track, as they get very, very far away, they almost start to appear like it's just a dot. And that's what we call that point, that dot, is our diminishing point. So as the edges get closer to the diminishing point, those edges are getting smaller and smaller. So the back face of your three-dimensional object is going to be smaller than the front face. The first step in drawing a one-dimensional block letter is to start once again with the front face. Very much like we did the isometric drawing. You just choose a block letter and you can draw that as your front polygon. Now, I also notice in this picture above I have something called a vanishing line. That's kind of your horizon line, that as you're looking off into the distance, things are kind of disappearing to that point. And this point, I have a little red dot. That is what I'm going to use as my vanishing point. The second step is to use that vanishing point and draw a line from each corner or vertice of my polygon to that point. So you can see that I'm basically drawing the depth edges. Each of these lines are going to be along the depth of my three-dimensional drawing. So I'm going to connect a vertice to that point from every vertice. Now, I drew in some lines that I don't need, and that's just to show you that some of these edges are going to be hidden behind my solid, and I don't really need them. So as you get better at this, you'll learn to leave out the ones you don't need. The third step is to basically put in the edges of the back face. So now I'm going to put in those lines that are going to be parallel to the edges on my front face. So see here at the top of the M, I went and chose the depth that I wanted to make my block letter, and I drew a line between those two edges that I've drawn of depth parallel to the front face. And so you can see that I only drew in the edges that I'd actually see. All the other back edges would be hidden because they're behind the solid. And the last step then is to erase the unwanted lines. So look, there's just my 4 lines that I drew on my back face, and then I erased any other line I didn't want. And I erased some of these lines that were just kind of slashing through the M that you aren't going to see. And the only lines I have now are the depth edges that I'll see and the back face lines that I'll see. And now you can see that as the M gets further away, the back face is getting smaller, and these edges back behind are smaller than the edges up above. And all of these lines that show depth, if I drew those, they would all come to that same diminishing point that I had up here on my horizon line earlier. So this is your third part of your project. So for 10 points, you're going to draw a one-point perspective block letter, but go ahead and leave your diminishing point in the picture. And then what I do is I check to make sure that all of these edge lines would indeed head to that, end up at that point if I extend them.